D&D YouTubers like talking about Strixhaven. Or at least they did a year ago when it came out. But every video is either,
"Oh, Strixhaven is bad because it's super bare bones,"
or Strixhaven is great because it let me improvise. But criticism and praise for a book can only take you so far. Neither are that helpful for a DM looking to run Strixhaven. So, here's how I run Strixhaven. Feel free to use, tweak, or ignore anything I say. Let's get into it. First off, I believe this book is a good place for DMs of all types to approach. Newer DMs will appreciate the relatively simple and improvisational encounters, while seasoned DMs will appreciate the unique rules and the vibe the book gives off to your players. That being said, when people say they have to do a lot of work to prepare, that's only true if you don't come up with a system for how to tackle running this book. If you go in expecting extremely detailed maps with descriptions of what's in each person's pockets and what's happening every minute of every school day, this is not the book for you. If, however, you want to run a relatively relaxed game where players have a chance to do a lot of improvising, going to classes, meeting NPCs, participating in clubs, which is the exact fantasy this book is trying to cater to, while once in a while having to defeat mutated racing frogs or props come to life, this is absolutely the game to run. So here's how I prep Strixhaven. In our session 0, I explained the rules that come with Strixhaven. Extracurriculars, jobs, relationships, and exams. All of the optional rules Strixhaven comes with. If you're going to play it, while technically optional, unless you're replacing these rules with something interesting of your own, I think ignoring these would take away from the Strixhaven school experience. They do a good job of simulating what it's like to be in a magical school. To break it down quickly, all these extra rules provide two things: roleplay opportunities and in-game benefits. A player can decide to ignore all of them, but that means they'll be less powerful during encounters, so they're incentivized to engage in the roleplay and get into their character. There are extracurriculars and jobs around campus that allow your players to engage in activities they may be interested in, and provide opportunities to interact with NPCs. These provide rewards in the form of student die, a d4 they can roll on certain ability checks, or money. Relationships with NPCs are able to be tracked via a point system, providing boons or banes for the player if they reach plus or minus 2 with an NPC. For example, the capitalist journalist Grayson Wildmere, who my players have grown quite an affection for, will provide your players with deals when buying things if he's their friend, but will spread gossip about them in the school's paper if they're on his bad side. Finally, exams are a way of capping all this off, because while you can have fun and make friends in college, if you don't do well in school, you'll face the consequences. Essentially, if you pass your exam, you gain a student die related to what the exam was about. If you ace your exam, you get 2. However, if you fail your exam, you lose any extracurriculars or jobs you're in, therefore losing their student die, and are less likely to be hanging around those NPCs unless you seek them out, meaning you could start to lose those friendships. This encourages your players to engage in all the school's offerings, including the education part. And there are supplemental rules to these systems, such as studying, but that's getting a little into the weeds. When I was reading, prepping to run it, these are the main mechanics that stuck out, and the structure starts to seem pretty simple. The players should do some schooling or education, do their jobs, clubs, talking with friends, and then go do the adventure the book has written. However, the book isn't written like that. Instead, it provides you with all these rules, and then with every adventure, it simply starts off with a short while after the last adventure. That's not very satisfying to me. The book doesn't provide specific structure for when to engage in these extracurriculars, when to go to these classes. So, I made a structure up, and it's super easy to prep for. I'm calling this the phase structure, and it's very simple. There are 3 phases every session: the education phase, the extracurricular phase, and the event phase. The education phase is an improvisational roleplay period all about interacting with the educational side of school. They can use it to roleplay attending one of their classes, seeking out a staff member, researching something they're interested in the library. Depending on what they're after, if they keep at certain things over time, I may give them proficiencies in certain skills or tools. They could use this time to research the big bad thing that's happening at the school. They could just go to class, ignore the teacher, and try to flirt with the student next to them. At first I gave each player 2 tokens for this phase, but over time I reduced it to 1 token each, meaning each player gets the opportunity to do 1 educational activity within school, which they may invite another player or NPC to. The extracurricular phase is yet another improvisational roleplay period, all about interacting with the fun side of the school. They can use it to roleplay going to one of their clubs or jobs, hanging out with an NPC to build relationships, checking out a specific place on campus such as Beau's End Tavern. Personally, I found these situations to be a little easier to run, so I've kept them at 2 tokens each. But hey, you do you. Finally, the event phase is whatever the book has planned for us that week. Sometimes it's a frog race that turns into a berserking giant frog fight. And sometimes it's an exam they have to cram for. Though usually it's giant frog fights. And really, that's it. That's how I fixed Strixhaven. I gave my players time to do the things the book provided rules for. And it's not even that much prep work. Half of it is improvisation, and the other half is written in the book. This also gives players that usually don't step forward in social interactions a spotlight to do whatever it is they wish, be it seek out and roleplay with an NPC they like, or simply go to the cafe and have a small scene where they drink coffee while silently studying. But each spotlight only takes as long as you allow it to go on for. You're able to wrap up scenes and move things along if you need to. We've had a lot of interesting things come out of it. For example, one of my players actually became roommates with Rampart. He came with them to an event phase, and during it was called out by another player. Because of that, during the next extracurricular phase, I gave them the option of spending one of their tokens instead to attend a duel that was happening between him and that player. There are a few things I've been able to include in the system, such as a student activities fair to introduce them to all the various jobs and clubs they could join, or attending a crucial class right before an exam where the professor relayed a lot of information for the exam, giving them a bonus to their studying role. One of my players joined the Future Entrepreneurs with capitalist journalist Grayson Wildmere. Told you they loved him. And are slowly turning the club into his personal weed dealing business. Strixhaven can be a lot of fun if you just let it be fun. The book has a lot of interesting rules and fun encounters. My players love wasting their resources on the game that's happening during the adventure, knowing for a fact they're probably going to have to fight something the moment it's over. Strixhaven is a lot of fun. All you have to do is give your players time to interact with it. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in D&D content and want to see more like this, let me know and I'll be more than happy to continue doing stuff like this. Thanks again.